When I was 6, my dad showed me this video. It was my first introduction to ACDC, and little did I know, my life was changed forever. Ever since that day, it has been my dream to own that very same guitar Angus had in that video, a 1966 to 1971 Gibson SG Standard. Considering how expensive those things are now, I really just wanted a red SG with a Maestro Vibrola, a large batwing pickguard, 2 covered humbuckers, and those bone-colored tulip-shaped tuners. The problem is, those aren't in production anymore. I'm 18 now, and my obsession with ACDC Angus and that one damn guitar still hasn't gone anywhere. I have every single ACDC album and DVD and a bunch of other merchandise. I saw them live in 2015 when I was just 7 years old and have a photo I took that night framed in my vitrine. Next to it, I have a miniature Angus SG, and I still have the ticket stub and some confetti from that night too. That original red SG is in a poster on my wall, and literally is one of the walls of my room too. I drew dozens of SGs as a kid and wrote my own little books about them. A little later, I moved on to building them out of wood and cardboard with my grandparents. When they were finished, I would perform 2-hour-long ACDC concerts with them, imitating Angus to those very same grandparents. At one point, I also played these Paper Jams guitars, which were always also, yep, you guessed it, SGs. I only have one left because I literally tore them apart since I used a real Fender extra heavy guitar pick like Angus does. One time, my sister even made an SG cake for me. When I started playing real guitar at age 7, the first songs I learnt were ACDC songs. I made my very first YouTube video soon after, and it was a guitar cover of Back in Black. My profile picture is still me in my Angus outfit, and I'm reading this Angus book at the moment. Is that enough proof I love ACDC? Earlier this year, a local guitar hero, who I'm proud to call a friend, sent me a message asking if I was interested in playing 2 classic rock concerts with him and a few other professionals. I went hell yeah immediately, but then it occurred to me that I would lose all my credibility if I showed up to my first proper gig with a homemade Frankenstrat copy. I have 9 guitars, but all of them are low to mid-tier instruments. Is it finally time for me to invest in a high-quality guitar? For 6 months, I go back and forth with different options. It drives me on the verge of insanity. I change my mind every 2 days, but at some point I realize I always come back to that one red SG. I finally come to the conclusion that it's the way to go, but then a wave of self-doubt hits me. Do I deserve it? Is it really worth the price? Is it the right time for a purchase this big? After all, it's just a piece of wood. Is it really that different from an Epiphone? I ask my friends their opinion, and every single one of them says I should get it. Even my parents agree. I decide to ask one more person, the local guitar hero, and he answers, absolutely, in all caps. I figure it's finally time. I'm going to get my dream guitar. I woke up the next morning to a beautiful view and thought that even the universe is saying yes. That evening, I head on to Toman. Right as I'm about to go through with my purchase, my dad asks if it's available here in Finland. It is, but it's more expensive. He points out that one company promises to sell all their products at a lower price than any other store. My dad changes my mind and calls them the next day. Turns out they didn't have it in storage, even though their website said otherwise. We ponder our options, and the next day he calls another Finnish store. Around the same time, I'm in school and decide to head on to the second store's website. All of a sudden, it says it's unavailable. I almost shit my pants until I realize my dad has sent me this message. He got the last one. I react calmly. What followed were the longest days of my life. The package finally arrives, and I immediately open the case. Everything is fine, but it's still missing something. A large pickguard. Luckily, I have a genuine Gibson one lying around from years ago when I wanted to put one on my Epiphone, and it didn't fit. To my surprise, it didn't fit now either. I think, okay, I've made custom pickguards before, I'll just do another one. I realize I don't have any black 3-ply pickguard plastic left, and I'm going to have to order more. Which means I need to wait more, too. The second package finally arrives, and soon I start taking the parts off the guitar to make a fitting template. Then I trace its outlines onto the new pickguard material and cut it. All that goes by relatively quickly, but sanding and filing it by hand to make it fit perfectly takes me a full day. I try to match the previous pickguard screw holes so I wouldn't need to drill any new ones, but in the end, they don't match perfectly. I need to drill new holes on the left side anyway, which physically hurt my soul. But I knew that if I didn't go through with my plan, I would never be fully satisfied. I finally get the pickguard fully on and start putting everything back together. I moisturize the fretboard, polish the frets, put on new strings, set the string and pickup height accordingly, and tune it up. That's when the moment I had been waiting 12 years for was finally real. I had my dream guitar.